everybody, welcome back to Mom's Cooking Diary. Today I'm going to be making a roasted chicken, so let's just go ahead and get that done. I have a 4 to 5 pound chicken here. I have a cake pan, I have some salt, kosher salt, some black pepper. This calls for a 1/4 cup of white wine. I'm just going to use some cooking wine, a half and a half. Several sprigs of fresh rosemary, and then 3 garlic cloves, 1 lemon, half a stick of butter, and 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Alright, so to get started here, go ahead and take the chicken out of the wrapper. Say hello to my son, who's very curious to see what I'm doing. Once you get the chicken out of the wrapper, I like to just kind of keep the bag to the side so you can put anything you want to in there. You're going to rinse it off, pull any of those goodies out of the middle of the cavity that might be in there, and then take a paper towel and pat it dry to make sure none of that drippy water is in there. You want more delicious things on your chicken than just drippy chicken water. Then you can just take your chicken wrapper and throw that away. Alright, so I am just putting this in a cake pan. Why? Because I've seemed to have misplaced my roaster, and this is just a little chicken. Don't need a huge roaster for that. I'm going to melt my 4 tablespoons of butter and add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You can see how I measure here. I just go and 1 and 2 and 3 for 3 tablespoons there. I'm going to put in my cooking wine, and I'm going to stir all that up, and that is going to be what I use. Oh, and half of my lemon. Half of my lemon I am going to juice in this. Make sure to remove any of the seeds. As you can see, I'm kind of catching them there. All right, now we're going to use this to baste our chicken today. So we're going to want to make sure we thoroughly lather this guy up in our butter mixture here. Going to get the top, we're going to get the bottom, we're going to get the inside, we're going to get the outside. We're going to just give this guy a nice, lovely butter massage. We're going to just cover them all up. Put some on the other inside. Now we're also going to want to try to get some between the skin and the meat. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my fingers inside the skin and just try to separate it from the meat a little bit. Just kind of get down the breast a little bit. And then you can go ahead and pour that in there, and then that can just get all in there, and then it can kind of just steam and cook and get nice and delicious and juicy. There we go. Now we're just kind of rub the rest of this all over this guy. So then the parts that fall to the bottom we'll use for basting later. So next we're going to season this liberally with some kosher salt and some pepper. There we go. Alright, so now we are going to take the other half of the lemon and slice that up. And the 3 garlic cloves, have those peeled, and then I am just going to take the side of the knife and smack the garlic clove nice and flat. That way we can just do a rough chop on these garlic cloves. So here we go, just a nice, run the knife through after you flattened it both directions. Just a nice rough chop, nothing minced too crazily here. Alright, so now I'm going to take some of the lemon slices and put it inside the chicken cavity here. And then I'm going to take our fresh rosemary package, and it calls for 2 to 3 sprigs, but waste not, want not. We're going to stick all this rosemary in here. There's no such thing as too much rosemary inside of this here. It's absolutely delicious. All right, so we're going to stuff all these guys in. There we go. One more. Poke them all in. There we go. Then we're going to put the rest of the lemon slices in. And then we're going to take our chopped garlic. Some of it we'll put on top, some of it we'll put inside. And this is going to just be, this is amazing. I wasn't sure how this was going to be. This is the first time I've just oven roasted a chicken, but this is delicious. It was so good. I'm making it again. All right, so now we're going to just kind of rub the garlic all over the side of the chicken. Kitty shot, bottom right. All right, now I'll just take a little bit of the juice. Again, make sure everything is nice and damp and covered and ready to go. All Alright, so now I'm going to put this into a 430 degree oven, and we're going to bake it for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Halfway through, we will go ahead and baste that, so about between 45 and 40 minutes, we'll take a look at it. Alright, so for sides today, I'm going to make some mashed potatoes. So I've got my pot of water ready and a whole bunch of peeled potatoes. So now I'm going to chop these into very large chunks. Really the key to this is just to make sure that the chunks of this are all pretty similar sizes. You don't want some itty bitty pieces and some gigantic ones, because then the little ones are going to be overcooked and the large ones are going to be undercooked. You're just kind of looking for similar sizes. So we're going to go through all these potatoes and chop them up roughly to about the same size. There we go. And took me a while to get all these peeled, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn the heat on these and let them get going. I'm also going to make a side of asparagus, so I am going to take the rubber bands off of this and go ahead and get this asparagus prepped so that when we're down to about 15-20 minutes, we can go ahead and turn that on. So to do that, I just pick one of these guys up and snap the bottoms off. Don't need to use a knife, and there we go. Snapping all the bottoms off. You can throw those away. So then I just take them all in the pan, all ready to go, and then I rinse them off really good. Make sure we get all any last bits of dirt and debris off of those. Give them a nice rinse, drain them off, and then put in about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of water. We'll put a lid on that, and then we will steam those in there. The other side that I'm going to be making today is some spetzel, which is German egg noodles. So we'll need 1 bag of that and 2 boxes of chicken broth. Alright, we are halfway through cooking this bad boy. Oh, look it. It's so pretty. The skin's getting nice and golden brown, and we're going to go ahead and give this a nice baste. So while I was doing this, I kind of saw that my garlic cloves were starting to get a little bit browner than I wanted, so I brushed them all off to the side and just let them finish cooking in the juice on the bottom. It still is adding to the flavor, but this way it's just not going to burn on the skin. So coat all that back down really nice, and then I did notice that the skin is getting pretty brown and it still is only halfway done, so I did then go ahead and decide to put some aluminum foil over it to keep it from getting too brown. So now we're going to go ahead and prep for the spetzel. I am just going to take a cast iron pot and put both cartons of chicken broth in here. Again, then same time I decide the asparagus is ready to go, we'll just turn this on as well to boil. Once it's boiling, we'll just throw in the egg noodles and let that cook for the time on the directions. Alright, so everything's prepped and ready to go. Alright, I have both of the chicken broth and the asparagus cooking. Checking the potatoes, checking them with a fork to see if they're done. It did go through really nice, so now we're going to just go ahead and strain off all the water. There we go. And using the very sophisticated tool, I'm going to smash these potatoes down. Just want to smash them all. I don't mind a little bit of chunk, so some chunks in there. Since I have a massive amount of potatoes, I'm just going to stick an entire stick of butter in here. Let the butter melt, stir it around. The butter does add some liquid to it, so I do like to make sure the butter is all the way melted before I add some milk. Now there's no exact measurement for how much milk to put in because it depends on how many potatoes you cook and how big they are. So it's kind of an eyeball thing. You don't want it to be super soupy, but they can also be dry, so you kind of want to find that happy middle ground for your potatoes. There we go. Then I do season it with a little bit of kosher salt and some pepper. There we go. A little bit more milk. That's still a little dry looking to me. You could put more milk in here than you think you can. They were still a little dry. I could have put in more. Alright, stir all that up and then we'll put a lid on it until our chicken is ready. Oh, do taste it though. That way you can see if you want more salt or pepper. Those are good. Alright, so now my chicken broth is boiling. Just gonna put the bag of noodles in. Stir it up and just let it cook for how long the package says. I believe it's something like 13 minutes. You can see my asparagus in there bubbling. All right, and now let's check out this here chicken. You can see I wrapped it with the aluminum foil. I know I didn't catch that on video, me putting that on there. Oh, and look it's gotten browner. Now you do want to test it to make sure it's done. I believe you were looking for 165 degrees. So now this was just barely at 165. I want to say it was like at 164. And me just being the cautious person that I am, I decided to throw it in for like another 5 minutes without the foil. Let the skin crisp up for that last 5 minutes here. All right. So now just babysit my noodles. Let's check to see if the asparagus is done. Again, I'm just going to use a fork to poke it and make sure it goes through really without much resistance, and it did. So now I'm going to drain off the water. And then I'm just going to stick it with a little bit of olive oil and just a nice quick sprinkling of some garlic salt. Then I'll put it back on the hot burner just to kind of let it saute in that olive oil for just a minute. Oh, there they are. So beautiful, so delicious. I love asparagus. All right, my 5 minutes is up and our chicken is done. All right, we're going to test it with the thermometer one more time just to make sure. And now it's registering just above 165, which makes me happy. So we're going to call this bad boy done. Look at how beautiful it is. So happy. All right. So now I'm going to attempt to cut this bad boy up. I'm just going to, it's hot though, so I'm just going to kind of make some little incisions next to the legs to kind of let some steam escape. And I had to do one more picture under the legs. It's just so pretty. Oh, and then my timer went off for my noodles. We're going to check those. They're done, so we're going to go ahead and turn off the heat and just let it kind of sit in the rest of the chicken broth. We're not going to drain this off. All right. So then I took out all the stuff from the inside and sliced it back up. Probably the best decision I made was to put it then back into the chicken sauce. That sauce is so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Put some on your potatoes, put some on your noodles, put some on the chicken. It's so good. So I'm just going to make myself up a nice plate here, getting some chicken, get a nice scoop of potatoes, get some asparagus, and then these noodles are a family tradition for my partner here. So this is his grandma's pot, and now we have to use the grandma spoon to serve them up here. And look at this. Fancy little dinner, and it took about an hour and a half, which I feel like isn't too bad for this nice fancy family dinner. So I hope you guys try it sometime, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.